shoes, new hairdo, new everything, you know. So anyway, I'm really glad to be here. And you know, they say all that nice stuff about us as the directors, but really we could do nothing without our units. And so I have one of my very special unit members in the room, and then I also have some of my adopted unit members in the room, adopted because I meet with another director and we just claim each other's people. So please have them see, and you guys give them a round of applause. Oh my gosh, you know, if we didn't share ideas, I don't know what we'd do. So, and I have to say something too about Rena, because I have been in Mary Kay since I was 18 years old, and so Rena's been a big part of that. If she was anywhere near, I would go and listen to her whenever she traveled places. And one time, and I couldn't even tell you how many years ago this was, not too many, but we were in the airport, my family, and it was after Christmas, and we were heading out to go snowboarding, and there's Rena. I knew she had just had brain surgery. And I'm kind of one of those people where I'm not going to go up and go like, oh, hi, you know, like the movie stars or anything. But she, of course, said, hey, how are you? And I just thought, wow. And so I stood there and talked to her. She had kind of a little hat on because there was no hair under there. There was huge scars she showed me right in the airport. And I just remember, you know, I introduced her to my kids and my husband, and I just remember her saying, oh, I know I shouldn't be going, but I'm not going to do anything when I get there. I just can't miss this family time. And I just laughed because I thought, that's Rena. You know, she probably told him, well, you don't have to discharge me, but I'm leaving anyway. So anyway, they were going snowboarding, we were going snowboarding, and what a lesson that was for my children and my husband to see a woman like that, and for me to tell them those stories about her and how long she had been battling cancer. And not only that, she was at leadership that year too, which was only about a couple weeks later. And so anyway, you know, just a phenomenal woman and such an example to set. And I was going to tell y'all that, you know, sometimes words don't always come out of my mouth right. So especially those of you I have eye contact with, you can just go like, and I'll know that that means like, oh, I goofed something up, I better go back and replay that. But I kind of feel comfortable now because I feel like Rena will just tell me to tell you whatever. So here we go, okay? I don't know if Robin said, but I was actually recruited by my mom. And I don't know if how many of you have heard that story, but my mom had been in Mary Kay for 13 years. And she supported us as a single parent for a lot of those years. And honestly, I thought nothing of it. It was just what she did. Not what I would ever do, what she did. And as a teenager, I didn't even use Mary Kay. That wasn't smart. I'm not proud of it, but I didn't. And when I tried everything else and it didn't work, I finally started going to a dermatologist. And that didn't work either. And my mom finally just made me use Mary Kay. And voila, my skin got better. And that was even before Clear Proof. And so imagine if we would have had that. But anyway, so about that same time, I was trying to figure out what to do in school. I mean, I knew I was going to college. Now, my family hadn't been to college, but they wanted us kids to go to college, and I knew I was going to go to college. And so I was trying to figure out where and how I was going to earn my way through and all this kind of stuff. And anyway, long story short, I asked my mom to tell me about Mary Kay. Now, my mom, she would have loved all the directors on the stage, right, Yvonne? Those are who she would have selected. Classy, sharp, have their act together. Well, I was 18, had pretty hair, wore jeans. I wasn't really her ideal candidate. But I was persistent, and so she told me everything. And once she told me the marketing plan, I just remember thinking, oh my gosh. Now, I did not say this out loud, but I thought, if I sold one mascara, I could buy a pitcher of beer. I was 18, I was going to college, I thought that's what went together, okay? Kind of a bad example. So But anyway, she didn't know that, so I began, and but you know, you guys, I have to tell you that everybody thinks, oh, that's so neat, you know, your mom was in, it must have been easy. But I want to kind of tell you the flip side of that. We were living in Topeka, Kansas. Topeka is a capital city, and if you're smart, according to most people in Topeka, you will get a secure state job. Now, has anybody ever seen those buildings and been in those cubicles? Yeah, they don't play music, they don't wear high heels, and they don't have friendly looks on their face. But anyway, that's really the idea, you know, the mentality. And so the minute I thought I was all excited about doing Mary Kay, like my mom did, you know, I got all the grief. Anybody ever had that? Yeah. Oh my gosh, who do you think you're going to sell to? Hasn't your mom been in? Doesn't she have everybody? Which is kind of a joke. But anyway, I mean, that's what people kind of thought. And so I just thought, oh, and I got that scaredness. And I can just remember kind of like running back to her and her thinking, okay, Brenda, at least go through training. You thought you wanted to do this, at least go through training. So, you know, good thing our training is excellent, because I did go through training, and that's all it took, really. And I took my 5 little high school girlfriends who were pretty broke, and Mom said, don't let them all have one party together or you're out of business. So I used the words she taught me, and each one of them had some of their friends and their mom and their sister and people, and from there, it just flourished. But I gotta tell you, like I say, it flourished, but you know the road to success isn't like this, right? Anyone know? It's kind of It's like if you keep going, you get there, but sometimes you just like hit some flat spots. So like my first party, totally forgot the trays. How do you forget the trays that you put all the products on? But I did, but she had paper plates, so we were good. Okay. So then the next party, I thought, I'm not going to do that again. So I take my bag home and I put trays in there, and I think, there, I'm just going to leave it till tomorrow night. Well, I got to my party the next night, and guess what I forgot to take out? Wet washcloths. Yeah, it was not good. And so I said to my friend, do you have any washcloths? And I'm not joking, she got out the raggiest, like dishcloth rags. And everybody used them, and we just kept on going. But what was amazing is at the end of that week, after doing 5, I can remember finally not driving home and thinking, what did I forget and how did I goof up? So anyway, and the other thing is, you guys, I didn't even wear lipstick, and I had no intentions on ever doing it. And I'm cracking myself up because what do I do before I know they're going to introduce me? So, you know, everything can change. So anyway, the training in Mary Kay, I've seen firsthand how incredible it is. I've had people in my unit who have got promoted in jobs that they really did love because of the training in Mary Kay. I've had women in my unit who would not go to PTA meetings because they didn't want to be called on. They would not volunteer for Booster Club or anything, become PTA president after being in Mary Kay. So when I say the training's good, it's really quite incredible. People don't really realize, but it does so much for you. Oh gosh, I have notes just because I didn't want to get completely off track. But so one thing I do want to tell you too is that, you know how we talk about the friends you make? Sometimes you don't realize where they're going to come from. So one of my first parties, we didn't have relatives in Topeka. So one of my first parties, I drove 2 hours to my aunt's house. And my aunt was just a great candidate to be a hostess because she had one blush, and it usually lasted her about 10 years. But she was willing, and so she invited some people over in her small town, and one of those women, her name was Mary. And Mary and I totally hit it off. Now, I'm 18 and getting ready to go to college, and she's 18 and starting to have children, okay? And we became close friends, I mean fast friends. Do you know to this day, 32 years later, we are great friends. She's a grandma, I have teenagers. that cool? One of my very first parties. And not only that, I added up the other day because I was just thinking about this. She is a very regular orderer, and she looks awesome, by the way. But over the years, do you know that's probably been about $10,000 income from that one person? Sometimes when we're telling people about Mary Kay consultants, don't you want to say, like, we get paid over and over and over again, and they go, how does that work? Well, that's how that works. I mean, we build customers, and even when we're sick, it can get mailed, our products can get mailed out to them as a reorder or whatever. So, I mean, she's not the only one. I had somebody, and last time I was in Topeka, I invited a guest. It was a client of mine, and I'm like, Jean, how did we meet? I'm so sorry, I can't remember. And she goes, oh my gosh, don't you remember we were both like 18 and we snuck into that bar and we met in the bathroom? I'm like, oh yeah. So anyway, I mean, your customers become your friends. And the money is great, but I would trade the money off anytime for just the thought that I would not know some of the people that I know. So anyway, Robin told you that, all the monetary things that I had acquired. And you guys, I just like to say that because since I was 18 years old, I have never had to have another job. Okay? Never. And I have not lived at home since I was 19. So I just want the consultants to know that, and maybe there's guests thinking about this, that I've never, and I supported myself in a really nice way. And so I think that's powerful to know, and not only not have another job, but when my girlfriends were graduating college and getting jobs that either A, they hated, or B, they thought they were going to love, but they weren't getting paid anything, I was just like totally loving everything I was doing, and I still felt like I had fallen into it by accident. I had no plans on continuing to be in it until I kind of kept comparing and thinking, well, why wouldn't I? And so, it's really interesting. My mom always says, go as far as you can see, and when you get there, you can see farther. Because back then, if anybody would have told me I'd be up here talking or anything else, I would be like, I don't think so, get my money and go. And so anyway, that's exciting. And when we say Chiefs season tickets, trust me now, I am a Cowboys fan. So, that was really easy to switch over, but but the reason that's important is because who has Cowboy season tickets? Either corporations or men. And men, we love you, but you don't even always share with us. Okay? So, I got them so I could go and have friends there, and that's the kind of freedom. So it may be that might not be your cup of tea. You might not want to buy yourself a boat, but you can do whatever you want to do with it. My mom used to tease me because I always had a little sister in the Big Brother Big Sister program, and I also volunteered for Battered Women's Task Force. So a lot of times, and that was before coming here, because now it's CASA that I'm most active with, but yes, it's a great organization, but what was really funny is my mom would call to ask about like a date the night before or something like that, and I would be like, oh, I had to call that off because my little sister's grandma called and she couldn't find her, and da-da-da-da, and we went in this house, and I always had these stories. And my mom, is completely different from me, ladies. She's just quiet. She doesn't like talking in front of people. She never liked being on the phone. She would just be perfectly happy typing her letters on her computer away from people. So for me to do those kind of things that I love would blow her mind. But you know what? Don't we get there's certain things, aren't there certain things in your life that you want to do? Mm-hmm. And sometimes you don't have time. But what I love is I just figured out that I had all the choices in the world. It was completely up to me. So anyway, I was just really thrilled about that. And then I got to tell you, okay, so when I was 30, I turned 30 in December, and then on that January 1st, we were doing goal posters. And so on my goal poster that year, I decided that if I met the right guy, I might be ready to settle down. And I am so thankful that Mary Kay taught us about goal posters, because 4 months later, I met Mark Fenner. And 6 months after that, we were engaged. And so the funny thing is I give Mary Kay a lot of the credit for finding him or for getting us together and for keeping us together. And the reason I say that is because I had a consultant in my unit who tried to set us up 2 years before that. I don't think we were both ready 2 years, so that was a good thing. You know, had a little interference from above, which was good. But if it wouldn't have been for us knowing each other's names, we wouldn't have connected so quickly. And then we got married really quickly, and of course, you know, when you're newlyweds, everything seems like it's going to be great. Well, thank goodness Mary Kay had always taught us, too, that pay to have the stuff done that you're either not good at or stuff that when you should be doing something else. So I've always had a house cleaner. Kind of tells you what I'm not so good at. So, in fact, 2 of my house cleaners have become directors, okay? Because they're like, I'm sick of this. Okay, good. Just don't leave me until you find me a new one. But that first year of marriage, anybody been through the first year of marriage? You can kind of just do this. Okay. So I didn't know that people folded socks and underwear. I didn't know it. Never did it. Never planned on doing it. But Carmen, my housekeeper that would come, folded Mark's socks and underwear and put them in the drawers according to color. And guess what? He thought I was the greatest thing. I mean, he totally didn't care that it wasn't me doing it. It was like a package deal. Because I wasn't doing it, I was more fun, but it was still getting done, so he was more happy. And so I totally give Mary Kay credit because I don't think I would have ever thought about doing something like that. But that's just how we grow up, right? They just teach us that. And so anyway, just kind of a funny thing. Yeah, and we've never been without because he's really particular, and well, I'm not. So anyway, I think another thing is that I don't know. When I was going through the stages, you guys, how many of you single people are in here? Okay, so here's what I was going through a lot. You go to dinner, but a lot of your friends are starting to get married, right? So then they start comparing their rings they've got. And then in Kansas City, you know, they get nice leather coats or nice this. And then you go to restaurants and they all, you know, give their nice coats up to the little check guy and, you know, all of that. So I cannot tell you what a thrill it was when I didn't have a great guy I was dating, but I'd still have a ring I won. And the other thing Mary Kay did for me, and sorry if there's any animal activists, but when you live in a place like Kansas City, you usually need warm coats. And so I did earn a fully mink coat years ago, and I will never, ever forget when we all went to that dinner where they all had their nice coats, and I strolled in, and they took it off my shoulders, and I was like, they're like, oh, Brenda, nice coat. I was like, oh, yeah, that's a gift from Mary Kay. You should see the guys turn to their wives and be like, and I had to buy you one, and you're still bugging me for another one, and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, sometimes we find a lot of strength in doing for ourselves what we can instead of always counting on others. And I really came to appreciate that tremendously. And so, anyway, that's pretty much, I don't even know where that coat is for the last 15 years since we've lived here, but it's kind of funny. I tell people stories about it because to this day, if you put that coat on, I am not kidding you, people will pump your gas at self-service stations. It's true. I swear. And I was telling my girlfriends this, and we were walking into a Mary Kay training center, and a guy came behind us and asked me if I needed help carrying things, and they had more stuff to carry. And it wasn't because they were really cute, but it's just something about the presence. And you guys, Mary Kay does that for us. She knew that we as women will do everything for everybody else first instead of taking care of ourselves. So she sets us up for these small victories. And then when we have small victories and we feel good about ourselves, we can have bigger victories. And then all of a sudden we want to share our victories with the next people so they can feel good about themselves. And you know, happy mamas and happy wives make happy homes, right? And better neighbors and everything else. And so it's been such just, I cannot even tell you what it's done. So I want to tell you all just one little thing too. So I did discover that I love to travel in my 20s. Anybody love to travel? Okay. Anybody love to travel out of the United States? Oh, good. Okay, so you guys were way smarter than me. So I have to tell you that I would go anywhere within the United States. I love to travel. But what was interesting is the first trip that we earned was to Maui. And I wanted to take my husband so bad. I just worked and we got it, and that was great, right? Well, the next trips were like the Greek Isle cruise and all these. My mom went on trips every single year, but she would tell me things like, oh, Brenda, it's so fabulous, and we went to such and such a museum, and these buildings are 3,000 years old. But now I know that it wasn't just that I wasn't letting in my brain. I must have had a fear of going out of the country, not because I'm scared to meet people from other cultures, but because I just didn't know anything about it. I never really paid attention in geography or anything else. So, I just didn't know anything. So anyway, a trip was coming up to France 2 years ago. My girlfriend was in town who lives in France, and I was telling her, oh, I'd love to come if we could go see you. And she goes, well, Brenda, you've got to come. I'll come and see you, but you've got to come. It's so beautiful. I said, I know. I don't know what it is with me. It's like I just don't work as hard if it's not somewhere. And she just looked at me, and this is what she said. Do you know that the United States is 3% of the population? Like, do you know what you're missing by not traveling outside? And I just was like, ooh, I was kind of embarrassed. And so I worked hard because she was going to be there. We earned that trip. And it was like a light bulb went off. It was, my husband and I will never do anything other than fabulous things because we could see how it was done. You guys, Mary Kay is the safest, most fun travel agent you could ever have. Because you don't have to know anything. They're not going to take you anywhere that you can't handle. Everything's first class. Every man that goes on, and I'm telling you, they love their wife even more. I mean, you see honeymoon stars coming out because guys are like, this is good. This is good. I will cook my own dinner once a week for this kind of stuff. It was really, really fabulous. And I just tell you that because I think that sometimes we don't know what we're missing until we do something. And we're always so scared to take the next step. And I always say, I'm glad I was too young to doubt. I used to say too dumb to doubt. That's really not true. But I was just too young to doubt. I thought, my mom said it, I can do it, and then I'll do something else or whatever. So anyway, I just wanted to encourage you because who would ever think that somebody who started for a little beer money would be now, I mean, literally I've been on the phone with friends that we met in Maui, Monte Carlo, and France, and we're talking about what we're going to do in Beijing and Shanghai. I mean, really? Who wants that? I laugh, but you guys, my dad, I just got to tell you, so my parents were divorced forever, and I love my dad with all my being, but let me just explain just a little bit, okay? So you see my mom, she looks very elegant, but she's a country girl, okay? She didn't feel as strong on the inside as she looks on the outside. Well, my dad didn't even try to look elegant on the outside. I know there's a lot of young people, so you guys might not get this, but he was kind of a cross between John Wayne and Archie Bunker. You guys know? Okay. So the vacations that we did were about 2 days long. They were always to the same place that was a couple hours away. And we knew exactly what kind of motel we were going to stay with because we were going to look for the one with the diving board. I mean, you're laughing, but you know what? And I think of the trips that my kids get to go on now because my eyes have been opened because I was willing to do a skincare class a long time ago. It's amazing. And There are a lot of people out there, you guys, and I don't mean to hurt anyone's feelings. This must be like arenaism coming out. But you know, family trips, like trips to see the family, are not vacations. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. And yet there's a lot of people that have to use their 2 weeks vacation to travel somewhere to go see family, to talk all the way home about how it wasn't very exciting. So anyway, I just encourage you, I just think that, you know, we never know what we could be. We never know what's inside of us. Sometimes they're secret things, and sometimes they're not even secret. You know, you're just like kind of maybe hiding because you don't know that you don't have the vehicle. And so I want to read you a little poem, and then I will just close out. You know, I first heard this poem with Jillian Ortega, who's a national sales director, so I'm sure many of you have heard it before, but it's The Magic Carpet. You have a magic carpet that can whiz you through the air to Spain or Maine or Africa, if you will tell it where. So will you let it take you where you've never been before, or will you buy some drapes to match and put it on the floor? And I really thank you all for having me. I'd be glad to answer questions or whatever you want me to do, but thank you.